We're back and you're listening to the Metal Magdalene with Jet, and tonight is our Sick Drummer Magazine Brutal Beatings Compilation edition number 18 special. And right now we have with us sick drummer Justin DiPinto of Malevolent Creation. First of all, congratulations on being chosen to be on the compilation, and welcome to the show, Justin.
Thank you.
So Justin, really quick, were drums the first instrument that you took an interest in as a young child?
Yeah, it was. Pretty much 4 years old, like I think a lot of people do, beating on everything around the house, and then eventually they get tired of you tearing up, pots and pans and cushions and ripping everything, so I got a drum set when I was about 5, and then kind of went from there, lessons and whatever else.
And do you remember that first kit?
Yeah, the first kit was a Muppet kit, believe it or not. It didn't last long because, at that age, I thought it was cool just to destroy stuff, so I found if you held the stick like a sword or a knife, and you just stab, that you could put holes in the heads, and then I couldn't play it anymore. So that was done. Then we had to move on to something else. It probably lasted a week if I was lucky.
Back to the cushions and pots and pans.
Yeah, and then from there it was like snare drum lessons with some local guy, and then I did some jazz stuff with some old dude in the neighborhood. But that didn't really pan out until I got to middle school and high school when I was doing actual, marching band, jazz band, stuff like that.
So when did you get your first real band? You're like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to get serious about this. Even if it was garage bands or stuff that you started playing out, was that a high school time?
Freshman year in high school, yeah, I started jamming with some guys, from around, I think one guy I went to high school with, 2 other guys I met at the mall, because they were the only guys that had long hair and black t-shirts, so we ended up hanging out together, and they also played music, so that's how the band started. And then from there, kind of branched out. I always try to, where I live, there's not a whole lot going on, so I always try to network and get into Philadelphia, New Jersey, eventually on to New York, and just kind of piggybacked one band into another until I got into some gigs that were actually doing things. And
what kind of kit are you playing on now, Justin?
Well, I had it for the longest time. I had Gus Rios' old Spawn kit since I did the first Malevolent record that I did on in '02. I just recently got rid of that, and I've been building an old Premier XPK that's, I want to say maybe 87 or 88-ish range. I've been just piecing it together at eBay, trying to find the actual same model numbers and actual same matching stuff. It's still a work in progress, but it's not totally done. I'm trying to build a huge monster kit out of it right now. But it's enough to get by on right now, that, and so I'm doing the premieres, and then I'm using a Ludwig super sensitive 1971 Stair. It's my favorite one that I'm never going to get rid of.
So, building that kit, Justin, what draws you to that particular brand and those drums that you have to have every piece in the world?
It was started off, I actually just went into a Guitar Center and found, randomly, I was buying something else, and I saw an 8 and a 10-inch tom on a stand, I guess, where somebody, sold them used, and they bought them for whatever. It was $99 for an 8 and a 10 on the stand. I was like, even if they suck, I can't really, complain for $99. I can always sell them back or something. And they were the old school, the real deep, the double, square size power toms, which no one makes anymore, because now everybody favors that shallower, more jazzy tone, which is cool. The response is nice, but I missed that, I guess, the arena rock, hair metal look, huge. Even Nico McBrain style had that.
Right.
And they look awesome. Black interior, a wine red outside. It's just real sick, and I kind of fell in love with just those two. I said, I'm going to start looking around and try to find a 12, and then I got all the way, from the 8 down to the 16 now, so everything's full in. It was just kind of a little hobby. And then the more pieces I got, I said, all right, let me sell the other kid off, because I've been meaning to just switch it up a bit. Found a kid that was really interested in it, and he knew the history, the records I did with the kit. So I had no problem getting rid of it, because I felt it was going to a good home.
Yep.
The price was right, too, so.
Awesome. So, Justin, you're in Malevolent Creation sort of, kind of, as your drummer for a really short time in the early 2000s. And recently you rejoined the band in 2014. So what's it like to be back in with the band?
I don't want to say much better than it was, because I didn't give it enough of a chance the first time, but I've been doing it a lot more than I should. I missed a lot of stuff, touring-wise, and potentially other albums and things that I couldn't commit at the time, that I was kicking myself in the ass that I didn't do, and now I've had the chance to come back in, and now I'm doing them, so I can't complain. It's a much better experience.
So as soon as you get back in the band, you're all putting out a new album. Now, did you get to write anything on the album at all?
Yeah, we did. Well, half of it was written when Gus was still in the band. There were 5 songs that were done. They were actually they weren't quite pre-production. They were actually recorded fairly well. They just weren't sure how they were going to release them. Mm-hmm. And those 5 were done. It was pretty much just Gus and Phil did everything, and then Brent did the vocals. And it just kind of stopped there because they were originally going to put out like a 5-songer and then do like a second half of it 6 months later, do 5 more songs. Mm-hmm. But it never came to fruition, and then they had their little blowout, whatever went on. So I jumped in. I had already known these songs, and just they let me hear them. Mm-hmm. So those were already written. I took them and did a bit of a twist on a couple parts, but I mostly kept them alone because they worked. They sound like the band's supposed to sound, and I didn't want to alter things too crazy. And then we just did the other 5 basically jamming at my house on alternate weekends. Gio lives up in New York, so he comes down. He would come down every other weekend and just jam, and then Phil flew up a few times. And it was pretty much the 3 of us wrote the other 5 songs, in the course of a few weekends. Mm-hmm. All the parts that were there loose, and we organized them, we recorded them at the house, did some demo versions of them, arranged things a little differently until we liked them, and then, mailed them off to Brett, and that was that.
So were you pretty pleased with the final product of the album when it came out and it was all mixed and mastered and everything?
I think so. I mean, I always look back and wish I did something a little bit different, but I kind of go for more of like the moment. Mm-hmm. I'm not into doing like 18 takes of the same song because it gets really stale. Mm-hmm. And if you're trying to hit every single roll and feel the same way, and it doesn't seem, it's too clinical. I don't like that feeling. So I'd almost rather play, 12 songs in a row, 1 take of each, and then maybe go back over and then do them all in a row again because you're getting that live feeling. So we kind of did it like that. But I mean, the majority of the songs were pretty much, almost all of them were, the final takes were like straight in a row, but a couple of them we didn't really have the tempos solidified. We didn't really agree where they should have been. Mm-hmm. So we did them part at a time, listened to them, and compared them to one another until we actually found what they were. Mm-hmm. And I just went back and played over top of where the clicks were, and that ended up being the final takes at that point.
Now, is Malevolent Creation your main deal, or do you have like other side projects going on?
I do 2 other bands. One that really kind of doesn't do much at all. It's a local punk rock band I do around here just for fun, the hell of it. And I've actually really been putting it on hold since Malevolent's been busy. And then my other band is Waco Jesus out of Illinois. I've been with probably 5 years now, maybe. I forget. Mm-hmm. Also, good friends of mine, back when I used to play Mortal with K, we used to do a bunch of shows off and on with them. They'd come to the East Coast, and we'd go out there in the Midwest with them. And when their drummer Johnny left, he called me up because they were basically like, if you're going to quit, you need to find a replacement for us. We don't want to have to do it. So he called me, and I was already a fan of the band, and we knew each other. I knew the songs. And then basically that kind of came together as fast as the Malevolent thing did again, where it just got flown out, learned a set list, did a bunch of shows, went overseas, came back, tracked the record, and then I've been going overseas with those guys probably 3-4 times now. And we're heading back out in February.
Wow, you're going to be a busy guy. And what about with Malevolent Creation? Is that you got a lot going on this year with them too?
Yeah, aside from the Florida gig coming up this weekend, I have 2 weeks off, then I go out to Illinois to rehearse with Waco, come back home for 2 weeks, then we leave for about 3 weeks for that European tour. And then right when I come home, we have some, it's not, everything is not confirmed yet, but we have a U.S. run that's starting to come together. It's supposed to be right after that the Waco tour gets done in March. So I'm still getting all the info now. See what's actually locked in and what's not.
Well, there you go. Well, you're going to be a busy guy this year.
Yeah. And Waco is also going to be playing Maryland Death Fest this year, the U.S. one, not the Netherlands Death Fest.
Right. Oh, that's nice. That'll be fun.
Great.
That'll be fun. All right, Justin. Well, again, congrats on being chosen to be on the compilation, and all the best to you and your bands.
Thank you.